Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Focusing in a little bit more in depth on the experience of a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath individual and the effect that it has on people who are in love with them, working with them, and a family with them. And that essentially is the lack of empathy. The person who is not able to understand you. You just feel like they don't get you, they don't understand where you're coming from. You feel like you can't carry a certain side of your relationship or communication in your relationship, and really you can't. You feel like they have an inability to understand your joy or your success. They're not able to give you that experience in the relationship. In fact, when people really do look and reflect back into a relationship with this person, they really do see that there's a devoid of a lot of joy there. There's not a lot of happiness. There might be some carefree moments. There might be some very pleasurable experiences. There might be some times where you're traveling or going out for entertainment and what have you. However, when people really look at the big picture in a relationship with them, they really do see that there was more so a prevalence of fear in the relationship, a prevalence of anxiety, suspicion, sort of constant need to defend and justify yourself, explain yourself, protect yourself. Also participate in a lot of defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms are behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that make you essentially protect yourself and protect you from feeling less than, unequal to, insubordinate to, insuperior to. So all the behaviors that are defense mechanisms, like overeating, overspending, oversexing, the gambling addictions. All these are meant to cover up a sense of toxic shame and an emptiness, or a sort of void that's within. Oftentimes it is created in a relationship with a narcissist because they are feeling that and experiencing that within themselves, and they're not able to allow you to live from that space when you're in a relationship with them. It very much becomes like a relationship of, I don't want to say osmosis, but, vicarious. You're I don't want to say you're living through them, but when you're living through them, you're not living your own life. You're constantly attending to them and their needs. They're always taking the spotlight. They're always taking the center stage. They're constantly the one in the limelight, and you, in essence, are always, in a subjugated space, one down. So just as like people try to one up you, meaning they try to steal your thunder, or you're trying to share something about yourself, your experiences, your accomplishments, something that went on, and they're like, oh, I've got nothing, that's nothing, and then they try to tell you, about their situation, where they're minimizing your situation. So they try to one down you, basically, by one upping you. And really this it's essentially an out of control state when we see this experience, and it really is coming from a lack of empathy. The narcissist and the psychopath have no empathy. The psychopath to a really much more severe degree than a narcissist. So they're really in a whole nother category, but it's in the same category of the DSM-5R. And so, if you feel like they're kind of like constantly masquerading in front of you, parading in front of you, trying to one up you or one down you, just constantly grind you down, crush you down. That's the experience of oppression. And they do this really to, keep that control and manipulation going. So, and if you try to profess any sort of reality to the relationship, real feelings, real emotions, let's talk about this. I mean, it's not going to happen. There's not going to be a coming together in the middle. There's not going to be a meeting of minds, so to speak. It's going to be very absent. So basically, in the relationship, you're left in the wake of feeling inadequate, and really you don't know why. And it's very much due to this lack of empathy. In other words, that which you ignore tends to go away. So in essence, in the relationship, even though, and this is what's so confusing, and this is what really creates a lot of the mental tension and a lot of the dissociation, is you're in a relationship, oftentimes a very heightened emotional relationship, but yet part of you is being denigrated, denied, and then assaulted. So it's a very strange thing, and I definitely feel for people who are going through this right now. If you ever need any assistance with this, please feel free to email me at peaceandharmonynow@gmail.com, and we can set up an individual consultation, as I've had extensive experience with this population, and I understand the dynamics and the ploys and the tactics and how they map out their control tactics. Realize that when you are in the midst of this sort of relationship with a lack of empathy, and you're feeling less than, you're feeling that low self-esteem, you're feeling that insecurity, realize, because in your mind's eye, you're still envisioning yourself with them. And this is very key to healing, because what keeps a lot of people stuck in the rut is they have a vision of themselves, even if it's a subconscious vision, even if it's unconscious, they have a vision that they are still with them, they can't please them, they're constantly disappointing them, they're constantly getting insulted, berated, etc. And that's what's playing around in their mind. So to break that cycle, you really do need, as stated by Dr. Joe Dispenza, need to recondition your mind and really be driven more by the vision of the future and what you do want, versus being programmed by the past, which you do not want. So you really do need to have a more powerful vision for yourself and your life. Your vision of your life is very important, because what you imagine, what you think about, what you focus on grows and then comes into your life. So that's just how life works. So if you are not driven by a vision of the future, then you're driven by a image of the past, or you're conditioned by the past. So you need to flip that around and instead be conditioned by a vision of the future. A vision of the future that you want to exist, how you want to feel in that moment, in your experiences. Joy, bliss, happiness, fulfillment, lovemaking, wild and passionate sex, taking vacations, having great and gorgeous food, experiencing awe, looking out at a vast sunset or a starry night, feeling the cold wind blow, and through the change of the seasons, hearing the howl of an owl, hearing a distant bird, hearing twigs snap, that feeling of awe, that feeling of an existential reality, that transcendent moment where you feel for a moment that you're really above and beyond, experiencing in a whole nother dimension of life outside of the mundane. These experiences that you have, or visions that you want to have, you have to begin to cultivate and create. So your vision is very important. If you've been really deprived of yourself, your identity, and you've been deprived of your identity and your destiny by being with so many toxic people, that part of you is just so stunted and so stifled and so shut out that you feel like you barely exist, or you barely have an identity, or you barely have any interests, or you're not able to really communicate, and you're suffering, like you feel like in a communication deficit, like you just can't articulate your feelings because no one has ever given you the opportunity to. Realize it's important to let go of these toxic people who are keeping you stifled. They're keeping you in a subject, they're going to keep you down in a smaller position, basically a smaller experience of life than what you are, really designed for. The people who are narcissistic in terms of parents will do this to their kids also, because anytime the child tries to develop and create a life of their own, the narcissistic parent, really, if they still need them as supply and need to feel superior, they will then, criticize, judge, be harshly punishing of their kids, and not allow them to grow up, because if they were to surpass them in income or job or friends, they feel threatened by that. So rather than allowing them to exist and flourish, it's safer to the parent to denigrate them, criticize them, judge them, keep them feeling insecure, keep them feeling scared, keeping them feeling down, because they can no longer, really come at the parent or, grow and mature in their life where they can, basically, be proud of them. They're threatened by feeling proud. So, this goes in a lot of relationship dynamics, workplace as well. So you always have to remember that it's important to be driven by your vision of your future rather than programmed by the nightmare of the past or the hurts of the past. Because if you hold on to those hurts of the past, you're just getting more and more of that. You're getting more and more of the past. You're not getting a future. You're not getting a destiny. You're holding yourself back. And I know healing does take work. It does take time. It does take a process. It's going to take a while, basically, till you get that. But it's well worth it, because once you start to get it, you'll start to plug in and you'll start to experience the results that you've been looking for, and really then begin to attract the really more loving, kind, generous, validating, supportive people in your life that you have been missing all the while. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.